I'm on a mission. I need to get better so I can take care of my kids. I was so sick, Dr. Chaffee. I was a ghost. I couldn't go up and down the stairs. I couldn't do laundry. I couldn't drive. I was having terror. I was sick every time I ate. I couldn't sleep. Something wasn't right. And I had to get better because I couldn't take care of my kids. And so that's when my dad, he had done Vinny's No Grains, No Sugar. And he said, Vinny's co-host had autoimmune and that she felt so much better just cutting those last veggies. He was like, cut the last veggies, Adrian. And so I did. And I almost felt immediately better.
Welcome to the Plant-Free MD podcast with Dr. Anthony Chaffee, where we discuss diet and nutrition and how this affects health and chronic disease, and show you how you can use this to optimize your health and happiness, both mentally and physically. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Plant-Free MD podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Chaffee. Today, I have a very special guest, Adrian, who was a contestant on the show The Biggest Loser that aired a few years ago. Adrian, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So for people who don't know you or didn't watch the show, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm from Minnesota, as you might be able to tell in my accent. And I've struggled with weight my entire life. And I was always the chubby kid. I was bullied for it. When I was in high school, I was able to restrict and work out. I became a major athlete, obsessed with soccer, cross-country skiing, golf, track. I was just so busy. I kept my body moving. And the minute I went to college, I gained all kinds of weight, like 60 pounds. And I had seen that there was this TV show, The Biggest Loser. And I thought, I should apply. That would be so great to finally not be big, to finally conquer this thing, to have whatever that magic is, and finally lose weight and have my dream body, maybe meet my dream guy. So I applied, and I can't believe it. I got picked. And it was an interesting season that year where there was one person from every state, and 36 people got sent home and 14 stayed. And I was one of the people that went home. Am I talking too much? Sorry.
No, not at all. Please keep going.
I thought that was such a curse that I got sent home. But I actually ended up with a lot of tools going home, which later on I found out was more than what they get on the show. I got a doctor, a nutritionist, and a psychologist. I got weekly calls. I got a plan. I'll tell you guys about the plan. And so I had tons of support, and whoever lost the most weight got to go on back on the show. And that was me. I beat everybody at home, and then it turned out I was beating everyone on the show too. And the plan, some people will be very familiar. Maybe it'll give some people some PTSD. It was 1,200 calories a day, broken into 3 meals, 2 snacks, low fat, low calorie. The doctor did say, Dr. Isanga did say we had to eat meat. He did say his vegan clients had a lot of issues, like with their heart, even in their 40s, and that we needed to eat meat. So that was one thing we were told that was good. And then we had to work out twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, and walk all day in between. And between all that, and I ended up losing about 66 pounds.
Nice.
And then I went home, and then things changed. But I can tell you a little quick rule about the people that had it on the ranch, because I did end up becoming a ranch contestant. And I think a lot of people have talked about this. So this isn't like, I'm not breaking any news here. The trainers are beautiful people who had helped maybe celebrities slim off a few pounds. That was their major experience prior to being on the show. They were not doctors. They were not psychologists. They were not nutritionists. Even Jillian Michaels has come out quite a bit and talked about how she was not prepared to help a 300-pound man, 400-pound man lose weight like this. And when we were on the show, that they were mostly there when the cameras were there, and people were by themselves, and they were just doing very, I would say, disordered things to win a weight loss competition. We can go way more into that if you have more questions, but after that, I gained 100 pounds, and there's a lot more in between there if you'd like to know.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, I mean, let's start with the show, I guess. What was it? What was it like on the show? How long did it go for? And you said that you had sort of limited interaction with the so-called trainers, but so it sounded like it was more, individual, self-guided sort of ways through weight loss yeah. So what can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, it was glamorous, just kind of like you would picture. Like we get flown there. Our season, we stayed in a mansion. There were these
Yes.
production assistants who would order whatever food we want. They would go get it. So we had this great produce. We had this great food. You did have to cook it yourself. And we were manually tracking on paper with a book because back then there weren't smartphones. Because
Mhm.
I was on this in 2006. I was 22 years old. The trainers were only there a few hours, a couple times a week to film, like this last chance workout or the weigh in. They would be there for that. But other than that, it was a lot on your own. I remember I couldn't sleep and I had all these leg cramps. So I sent a message to the doctor, and he wasn't allowed to have a ton of correspondence because of how they set up the game legally. And so I never really got help with those cramps, and I didn't sleep very well. So there wasn't a lot of, there was, and a lot of people were injured. That's another thing. As an
Oh.
at home contestant with my broken up workouts, I was actually getting pretty strong, pretty fast, pretty fit. The people on the show, they're like telling them they have to work out so hard, and that's crazy. They have these
Mm.
big bodies. You need to be gentle with your body until you can get to a weight that it's a lot safer. And they were all injured.
Mm.
And they were so tired, and they were sequestered from their families. They weren't allowed to talk to their family. I was home with my family most of this. Now, duration. That's a really good question.
Mm.
How do these people lose 30 pounds in a week?
Yeah,
You
wow.
know, the week was not a week.
No.
No, it was, I don't remember what the longest week was, but it was several weeks of
Yeah, wow.
filming for one episode. And then people also played with their water weight, whether or not they felt safe or not. So when you see these huge numbers, guys, that did not happen in a week. That happened over a, a multi-week period.
Hmm.
So I think the filming went on maybe 4 or 5 months. It was a long time of
Hmm.
filming.
Yeah, wow. And so did they change the plan when you like they had a different plan when you're at home versus when you were there on the show? Like as
I
far as
didn't really get a plan.
okay,
Once
right.
I got on the show, and then the difficult part was that a lot of filming was at night because of the heat, and you can't have, oh, I gotta tell you about the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta turn all the fans and stuff off because of the mics. And
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know, maybe it's the ambiance too. A lot of stuff was filmed at night. Even some of the competitions were filmed at night, and so it's difficult to maintain this great schedule of working out in the morning and the evening because you never know when they're going to call you and say, "Time to go to a competition, time to do weigh-in." You just never know when they're going to be doing interviews and all this. So it's very chaotic to keep a regimen. Now, as far as you see these people puking, right? They're working out till they puke. Well, that absolutely did happen. But a contributing factor was that the building was made out of vinyl, and it was
Yeah.
in the middle of a desert. And we had
Yeah.
to turn the fans and the air conditioning off because it messed with the mics. So, of
Mm.
course, you're like, if you're going to work out in a sauna, you're going to throw up all over the place.
Yeah.
So when you see these people like working out so hard, that might have been 5 minutes in because they were sweating to death.
Yeah, wow. It's so funny how they can make anything look like anything else. I mean, we call this reality TV. It's like, oh, this is really happening. It's like couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah, reality TV is often scripted or at least directed, where it's just that we want you to do this over here in this way, and so you just go and do like a real live sort of ad lib sort of scene, but they're telling you what they want out of it. And then yeah, and then they're saying, oh, these guys are crushing themselves, but it's 5 minutes in and they're saying it's looking like a 45-minute workout and they're just killing themselves and all that sort of stuff. It's very funny. It's weird that they get away with doing that. There's no sort of, if you say, oh, this happened in a week, but you're making these claims that it happened in a week, but it actually happened in multiple weeks. That's sort of funny that they get to do that.
think as this, I was season 3. I'm like an OG.
Mm-hmm.
As the seasons went on, I've heard from contestants that they got closer to the 7 days, probably because of legal stuff. So you can look and see some of the seasons, the numbers are different. Like in a lot of the beginning seasons, people are getting down to like 120 pounds, like bare minimum. And some seasons, people aren't even hardly breaking the 200s. So I think that has to do with length of season.
Yeah, interesting. And so what did they have you on a diet while I mean, they said you sent you home,
Oh,
but at the house, what was that like?
so I didn't get it, but maybe it's
Mm,
because I was coming in part way, but it didn't seem like anybody else had direction either, which was why they were so upset when my partner and I got to come in mid game because we had all these tools. We had a plan. Our plan was working. They were just eating as little as possible
mm,
and moving as much as possible. And like I said, they were injured. I've heard Jillian just did an interview and she had said she had them on 900 calories a day, the women. I don't remember what she said for men. Maybe the
Jesus.
men were 1,200. And she was having them burn 5,000 calories a day, I think. And they had like their trackers and stuff. And she claimed that they didn't lose any muscle. I don't even see how that's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess the very heavy protein, but yeah, it depends. I guess it depends on the types of things she was giving them. But 900 calories is really tiny. It's a small amount. Even bariatric surgeons I've heard say that for women, if they eat less than 1,200 calories, they actually won't lose weight. And for men, like 1,400 calories, and below that, your body just shuts down your metabolism and doesn't allow it to lose weight. Now, I guess you can force the issue, and it sounds like she did, but it's it's destroying the metabolism, and you're going to end up with big problems later on down the track, which is
And we all did.
yeah, yeah,
There's a community of us, and I've seen a lot of people. I'm going to go with most. I don't see how you couldn't struggle with weight after this. I mean, it was an absolute metabolism killer to be killing ourselves like that for so long, for months and months, and losing all that weight. I mean, most people did lose almost everything, and to come out of that and somehow not be ravenous and your metabolism be so slow and you've lost muscle. And I mean, you can't really tell in the finale pictures and stuff, but I saw people in real life. They were skin and bones. Like they definitely lost muscle. No doubt about it.
yeah, yeah. And then, well, I mean, there's the sort of famous or notorious Biggest Losers study where they looked at people's metabolism after that. And it's like like you say, you're eating as little as possible and working out as hard as much as you can. The classic eat less, move more, and but their metabolism was completely shot afterwards. And a lot of people would regain the weight, and then they check their metabolism 6 years later. I don't know which one they checked, but I forget. But 6 years later, the metabolism still hadn't recovered, and everybody had sort of lost all the gains that they'd made, and they had still had the ramifications, repercussions, which is pretty sad. Especially any sort of show, they're just going to churn people out. They just want to get it's like social media before social media. They just want those clicks. They just want people viewing. They just want people watching. Want something drama and exciting, and then they don't care what happens to anybody else after that. It's like that was the goal. So is that
I
is that
do
some-
wonder.
yeah,
I wonder because I met the producers, and if you look at the different shows that they've done, the types, they really did want to inspire people. And to me,
okay,
I don't know if it was intentional or if it was just that's just all we've ever known. I mean, you ask most doctors today, they're going to tell you to eat 1,200 calories and start half marathon training.
yeah, yeah, probably true. And so you know being in the community, how many people would you say regained the weight and had problems after the show? Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the carnivore bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
So it's really hard to say because they all do what I did, which is basically go into hiding from the shame.
Right.
You just, and then it doesn't help that what the producers and the trainers are putting out there is that, oh, they gained their weight back because they didn't do therapy.
Mm.
And I think therapy is definitely a piece of it because I have had to do work between here 100%. But there's more to it than that. It's the fact that that doesn't work. Eating in moderation, addictive processed foods doesn't work. To me, the carbs are pretty addicting. So there's the addiction piece, then there's the metabolism piece. There's the trying to train yourself to just be hungry all the time thing. I don't know. Never worked for me. I like carnivore because I get to be full.
Yeah, exactly. So when you did go off the show, after that, you did regain the weight. Is that right?
Probably within a year, I was up
Mm.
100 pounds.
Yeah, wow. And you're down 60 something, so you actually regained more than you lost.
Yes. And then in pregnancy, I got real sick and I ended up at 330, which was 100 more than I started. So, so I gained 166 pounds.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
And that was the wake up call for me, was that pregnancy where I had preeclampsia, and carrying that around was so, you can't even sleep. You can't turn, you can't move. I mean, I was considering a wheelchair in the grocery stores. So then I started running and restricting again. And we can go into what happened there because there's more.
Okay. Yeah, well, please, if you don't mind.
So once I hit that 330, I start running and restricting again. And I start half marathon training because in my Biggest Loser mind, people who are 330 pounds can still run.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was getting injuries and that was frustrating. And I was I was completely burning my hormones out. So I hit 230. So pretty close to my Biggest Loser weight. And I started going back up again. So then I saw some of the Biggest Losers were losing it and keeping it off. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And they said bariatric surgery. So desperate and had felt like I had tried so hard, I had gastric bypass.
Yeah, okay.
And then I got down to about 165. And I was doing I'm a type A person. I'm like, you tell me the formula, I'm going to do it. So I'm training for my half marathon still. I'm still weightlifting. I'm portioning my meals. I'm eating the 900 to 1200 calories they say to eat. And once I hit that 165, I start going back up again. And I go in and I'm like, what on earth? I am following your method to a T. Plus, I have the surgery. And they were like, you must not be tracking right. And to me, I think my metabolism had died.
Yeah. Yeah.
My metabolism said, no more, lady.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of these people that they're just the calories in, calories out people. You just say, hey, I'm doing everything, I'm restricting all this, that, and they're just like, you're lying. It's not possible. It's like, no, you just don't know how the body works. You obviously don't know what a metabolism is, and or hormones apparently. So it's actually quite shocking that doctors don't know how the body works, because that's kind of the whole thing. It's like a mechanic that doesn't know how to drive. It's like, what really, like that's what you do. That's you don't even know the machine that you're working on, and that's a doctor not knowing the body and how the body works. So um and so after that, so that's the thing, when people destroy their metabolism like that, they starve themselves and they're trying to overdo it, and their body and their metabolism says, okay, well, we just need to survive because we're just going to die. The starvation trials and Minnesota starvation trials and World War II era, they showed that they were just starving people half to death, and then all of a sudden it just plateaued. It just leveled off. They didn't lose weight anymore, and that's because they're just the metabolism just shut it down, so they didn't die. Like that's what starvation does. It kills things. And so they've slowed down their metabolism. It's not maintainable. They feel awful. You feel wretched, and now you're not losing weight anymore. Now, what the hell? You're putting on weight? Like, why the hell would that be a thing? And then you just say, okay, well, this isn't working. I'll go back to eating how I did before. Your metabolism stays down, and then you just slingshot your weight up. And quite often, people do regain more weight than they lost, and then they try it again and sort of double down on damaging their metabolism, and then they spring back up, and then so they're going down and up and down and up and down and up. But the trend is going up, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's very difficult for people. And then you get those Seco people that just say like, oh, you're just lying, you're just not counting calories, you just have no willpower. It's like, pretty sure these people have better willpower than anybody. I mean, you can't live for months and grind yourself to the bone, eating 900 calories a day, and not have discipline, and not be rigorous about something. I mean, you're just kidding yourself. It's no way to live. It's absolutely miserable, and it doesn't work. Not for everybody. I mean, you starve yourself enough, eventually, yeah, you'll die. But it takes a long time. It takes a long time to do that, and you're really not healthy while doing that. So yeah, it's good that you're you know showing it, talking about the inside of that, where you did everything right. You had the celebrity trainers, you had the special doctors and the surgeons and the nutritionists and all this sort of stuff, and it wasn't working, and all they could say is, you're probably not tracking right, which is just such a cop out and excuse.
And no deeper panels were run. To be honest, I feel like before I ever even got the surgery, they should have looked into autoimmune illness. They should have
Mm,
looked into inflammation. They should have run some more hormone things, because ultimately my body wasn't broken. Like, my stomach wasn't built wrong.
yeah,
Like, that didn't get to the root of the issue, which is why I just continued to have issues.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
then
then
they compiled. Then I started
right.
having, hypoglycemia. Then I
Hmm.
start having anemia. I start having nutrient issues, chronic inflammation, so that just compiled the issues and didn't solve any of them.
Good. Well, yeah, that's awful. So at that point, after you had the surgery, did you continue to lose weight at that point, or how did that go? I mean, some people don't actually, or they regain it after that.
I started out around 230 and I got down to 165. Once I hit that number, I started going back up again.
Mm,
So then I had that surgery about 10 years ago, and I've gone between 180 and 200 ever since.
right.
Up, down, up, down, up, down, struggle, struggle, struggle.
Yeah. And yeah, just because that's the thing. It's the surgery. All it does is it does a couple things. One is it can cut out the part of the stomach that makes ghrelin, which is can make you say, "Hey, I'm hungry, eat." But actually, it's an important hormone in other respects too. It actually does real things in your body, and like stimulate growth hormone. That's not a bad thing. And so but the main thing is restricting the volume that you have, right? But you were already restricting how much you were eating. I mean, this forces you to restrict, but you were already restricting. And so now you got down to sort of around the same weight that you did before, and eating around the same amount that you did before, probably. And then the same thing happened.
Hmm.
Your metabolism just slammed on the brakes and stuck it into reverse. And so, then you started actually putting on weight doing the same thing. And am I correct in that assumption that you doing the same thing, you started actually putting on weight after you hit that point?
Yes, I'm still exercising. I'm still eating healthy.
Hmm.
I mean, I thought, almond milk and low carb bread, and there's a
Ugh.
lot of things that I thought were healthy that I'm not thinking are healthy anymore.
Hmm.
But, I was eating all the health products, the low fat dressings, all the things, and also moving my body tons and just struggling. And now for 10 years, I have honestly had chronic fatigue and just issues. And then I've had the anemia and the hypoglycemia. I mean, the hypoglycemia was so bad until carnivore that
Mhm.
I could barely leave my home because I never knew when it was going to drop, even though I was eating low carb. I've been eating low carb ever since the surgery
Mm.
due to force, because otherwise I'd have hypoglycemia. But
Mm.
even just eating the green beans and chicken, it was still, my hormones were so off and my insulin regulation was so off that I was still, let's say I was throwing a birthday party, stress was causing me hypoglycemia. And for some reason now, stress does not cause me hypoglycemia. I don't know if you can give us an explanation of that, but since
Mm.
cutting the veg, no hypoglycemia.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, really good. So it sounds like you were struggling for a while, and then what happened? What came through? What made the breakthrough that you got to actually sort of break through the wall and beat all this horrible trap that you were in?
Well, I'm a mom and I have 4 kids. And with my first 2 kids, I struggled to get pregnant and then I didn't have any milk. And I'm a type A person. I tried everything. I worked so hard round the clock to have milk for my babies and it just wasn't there. Pregnancy number 3 ends at 20 weeks. And I'm just told,
Yeah, well,
fluke, we don't know.
mm,
And I go to my surgeon too. I ask him, could this be from my gastric bypass? Because baby number 3 was after surgery. The other 2 babies were before. And he's like, we have no studies on this. So I don't know if it was autoimmune illness or if it was the surgery or what. But then I go and we struggle to get pregnant with number 4. And but I do get pregnant, praise the Lord. And I
mm,
don't have any milk again. Now, number 5, I'm like, I'm going to have milk, gall darn it. So I birth this baby at home in my bathtub. We stay skin to skin because they say, the natural hormones and the natural
mm,
process. I have lactation consultants coming to me. I have midwives coming to me. I have the doctor coming to me. We're both getting cranial every week. We have all our food pre-made. It's all whole food, no dairy, no chemicals. Everything is perfect. I have all the earthly supplements. Still no milk. And so this is when I go to a new doctor, a functional doctor, and she ran some tests and said, you have a slew of autoimmune illness. You've got Hashimoto's, you've got adrenal dysfunction to such a level I don't even know how you're functioning. You
mm,
have long haulers. But the thing is, she didn't really have an answer of how do we heal this. So that's
mm,
when it was like, I'm on a mission to to I need to get better so I can take care of my kids. Because I was so sick, Dr. Chaffee. I was a ghost. I couldn't go up and down the stairs. I couldn't do laundry. I couldn't drive. I was having terror. I was sick every time I ate. I couldn't sleep. I I even a couple times I hallucinated. I was spooked all the time. Something wasn't right. And I had to get better because I couldn't take care of my kids.
yeah.
And so that's when my dad, he had done Vinny's no grains, no sugar. And
Okay.
he said Vinny's co-host had autoimmune and that she felt so much better just cutting those last veggies. He was like, cut the last veggies, Adrian. And so I did. And I almost felt immediately better. I started sleeping, the hypoglycemia went away, inflammation started melting off, my brain started coming back. But it wasn't the whole picture for me. I also had to look into the chronic inflammatory response syndrome. But the the food reactions got better because I was reacting every time I ate. And on the carnivore diet, I stopped having those reactions. I started to get full. I skipped a piece. 11 years ago, after I had my kids, I decided I am a horrible drinker and we can't have this in my life. So I quit drinking 11 years ago. And I remember thinking, I wish I could have this with food.
Mhm.
But I've never been anorexic or bulimic, praise the Lord. And so that wasn't going to work for me to just abstain.
Mhm.
And the carnivore diet, the way that you get to be full and nourished is very food sobering. It really helps you give you a break from the nonstop eating and get to evaluate your relationship with food. So I can go into more. It's been game changing. I started out at 202 pounds. Now I've been between 155 and 165, which is lower than my Biggest Loser, my high school weight, and my surgery weight.
Yeah,
And I've
nice.
been maintaining it for a year.
Yeah.
And my energy is better, and I can just rave all day long. I think my stomach feels so much better. I used to be sick all the time.
Mm. Yeah. And it's been helping with your autoimmune issues as well?
Yes, nobody wants to talk about this, but I had lichen sclerosis, lichen
Mhm.
psoriasis, and it was so itchy. And I just kept being told, here's a cream, here's an antibiotic, here's a cream, here's an antibiotic. And my itchy skin just wouldn't go away, and no more itchy skin. Thank goodness.
Nice.
Another thing that the carnivore diet, my arms and legs were going numb, which I think was histamine. I don't get that anymore. Sometimes I would eat and I'd get this really lofty feeling in my head like I was floating. I don't get that anymore. So my gut has got to be healing. Everything isn't perfect, but it has got to be healing because I feel so much better.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Have you gone back and gotten your blood tests again and seen where everything everything ended up?
I am now working with a shoemaker provider.
Mhm.
So he has been running blood work. I'm sure we'll run it again here pretty soon, but we're getting pretty far into the protocol and I'm feeling so much better. So I had to clean up more than my food. I had to clean up the air I was breathing too. And that made a huge, huge difference for me.
Yeah. So what was there issues in your house or anything like that with the air, or what was going on there, or mold or
We had
something?
water damage we couldn't even
Yeah.
see. And
Okay.
when we had the guys come in, they were like, this isn't even a moldy house. But I was like,
Mm.
I know that it is because I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And they had to come take our ceiling out.
Right. So did they test for it, or did they have to just start knocking down walls to look for it and find it?
I kind of knew because there was water dripping from a light,
Yeah. Right. Oh
but
God.
you couldn't see it. You
Yeah.
couldn't smell it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was there. So when they cleaned that out, did that get better after that?
We're still working on it. We've actually moved to a whole nother home and we're
Okay.
continuing. Like, I don't know if you've ever renovated a house, but once you tear out something, the next thing you know, you're tearing everything out.
Yeah.
So it needs kitchens and bathrooms. And I think at this point, we're going to sell because another thing I've learned is this huge 6 bedroom house. It's so nice to have something simple. Like
Mm.
it's so crazy the things you kind of clean up when you come in here. Like I've been getting more sunlight. I have been doing more grounding, and I realized part of the chaos in my life was definitely all of the stuff and this huge house we had.
Mm.
So we're just kind of cleaning everything up to just live a just a cleaner, more simple life.
Yeah. Nice. And what about your family? Have they been obviously they must have been very supportive through all this because you had a lot of stuff to go through and you need that. But how are they with the carnivore diet side of things? A lot of people think that it's a bit out there to say the least.
So my dad's the one that introduced me, so he's all that's
Hmm.
great. My husband is a standard American dieter, and he hasn't been big on exercise either. But we went on a cruise, and he felt like poo, and I said, "How about you give the carnivore diet a try?" And he
Hmm.
did. And he
Nice.
felt amazing. He has high blood pressure and he felt so amazing. He got his energy back. Like right now on standard American diet, he crashes. He has to take a nap. And he's got that blood pressure and he's low energy. He has stomach issues. And when he tried it, it all cleaned up. But then so he did that for 30 days. He lost 30 pounds. It's so crazy. And he went back to his normal way of eating and he's felt like crud ever since.
Mm.
So the seed is planted that
Yeah.
he knows and he's very supportive. So we have two big kids from my first marriage. They are 11 and 13.
Hmm.
And so they've had the standard food. I mean, they've had healthy standard food. They also get the school lunches and stuff, and those are just garbage.
Yeah.
So it's been tougher with the big kids. So I've been encouraging them, let's eat more meat first
Hmm.
and then the other stuff. And then I've been taking them on my walks with me too. And then my little kids, they're served whatever I give them. So they crave steak. Like I went to a meetup, I went to Hack Your Health.
Mm.
And while I was gone, they were fed chicken nuggets and pizza. And when I came back, they were like, we want steak.
Hmm.
And when we go out now, they ask, they'll say, can we stop at McDonald's and get burger patties and bacon? Like, I'm really winning with those two.
Mm.
They think that pork rinds are crackers because they don't get the real crack. That's what they get for crackers or chips is their pork rinds. So the
Yeah.
little kids, it's going pretty good with. The big kids, it's a struggle. And my biggest kid, my husband,
Mhm.
the seed is planted.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. At least they know, and he saw how good he felt, and now he doesn't feel that good. Now he knows why. It's not just like, yeah, this is just normal. It's just how life is. I'm getting older, all that stuff, and it's because I'm not working out enough. Blah blah blah. And now he knows that there's actually something very different that is out there for him, and so that does tend to pull people back eventually because they know, and you're just saying it's like, oh, I just don't really feel well. It's like, well, you know why, and you know what to do about it, and it's like, yeah, I do, and eventually it's just going to get enough. And he's just going to say, screw this. I've had a lot of patients that I've spoken to, and for their specific health issues, we've discussed a carnivore diet. Most of them are, once explained to them, they're very excited about trying it, and some are a bit more like, oh, I don't know about that. That seems a bit weird, and but they're willing to try it, and so they'll try it. They'll do really well with it, and they'll actually feel amazing. But then they'll just say, yeah, I just, I need more variety. I just need something else. And so they'll go into again, a structured nutrition plan, but that is restricted. There's a lot of things that you're not allowed to eat, but it does give you more variety. And a few of these people now, that were really the only sort of people. There's only about 3 people that said, I really want to switch just to something else to open it up. Within 2-3 weeks, they're back in, and it's just like, yeah, I think I need to go back to carnivore because I didn't realize how much better I was feeling. Like I was feeling better, but then when I went back started eating this stuff, and I was like, I'm actually feeling way worse. And so it's just like, yeah, I think I want to go back to carnivore. So at least they saw that, and they said, okay, well, this is obviously much better. And then they went to something else and went, this is terrible. And so it's in their head, and they're like, okay, all right, let's go back to the other one. So hopefully your husband comes around too, and when he does, he's probably going to be a lot more diligent about it because it's going to be his choice to do it of something that he wants. I want to feel like this. I want to feel good, and when I don't do this, I don't feel good. So yeah, so hopefully that's sooner rather than later that he does that.
Right, especially the blood pressure. And I
Mm,
and but now I don't even have to tell him things. He just remembers, like he understands now blood pressure isn't from salt, it's from the sugar.
mhm.
And another big one that's really hard for him to swallow is the seed oils. Like he just wants to go out to eat and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, the seed oils."
Mm,
But I can tell you one thing that's made him feel great lately is he invested in a Garmin for him to track. And he said it was for me, but he'll just try it on. All of
mhm.
a sudden, since he put that thing on his wrist, he wants to walk with me. Like,
Okay.
yes. And he bought a grill and he has been cooking himself steak and onions and green peppers. We'll take it.
Mhm.
We're getting there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's really good. And how's he doing? Is he improving his health? I mean, because obviously, just cutting out most of that garbage and just eating more meat is going to be very helpful as well. Is how are his medical issues going, or you know his general health?
we're going on 1 week of this, so
Okay.
I'll let
Yeah,
you
so a
know. I'll
little
let you
early
know
to
in a
tell.
few months. But
Yeah.
so far, I swear the guy does a couple things, and he hasn't dieted his whole life like me. So his metabolism is pretty great. And when he makes even small changes, he sees huge differences. And it's great to see that. But he does understand when he looks at me why I have to be so on it. Because I would like to think that I'm healing my metabolism, but too much dairy and woof, I just bloom right up still. So I still am doing a lot of tracking. I still really need to stay on it, watching things like the dairy. I don't know if I have to watch beef, but maybe short ribs because they're so good. But
Mm.
hamburgers, I mean, you're going to get full. I kind of have to watch eggs because I feel like I could eat those all day long. But I eat a lot of beef and lots of fish.
Yeah. Yeah. So what exactly is your diet now? What is that looking like?
I think it's the autoimmune illness because I'm still dealing with all that inflammation and some hormone and
Mm-hmm.
some thyroid things that need some love. So fish feel amazing. So for me, that's a lot of salmon and sardines. I just feel like superhuman when I eat salmons and sardines. So I probably eat that like every day right now, but we all go through phases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like in 3 months, I might not eat any fish at all. And then I love beef. So I'm eating a lot of burger patties and picanha. I love picanha. If you guys haven't tried picanha, you got to go out and get some. It's so good. The fat cap is just magical, and the beef just has so much flavor. So I eat a lot of that. I love pork belly. I don't eat a lot of bacon. It tastes really chemically to me. Um, I don't eat a lot of chicken. That makes my stomach upset, which is funny because prior to carnivore, I had started a quail farm. So I had 600 quail, 20 rabbits, and 100 meat chickens. And so here I'm making all this white, fatless meat. The minute I went carnivore and I started eating all this beef, those animals got rehomed.
Yeah.
So that's
Whales
mostly what I
too.
eat. I love eggs,
Mm.
but they're kind of hard still. So they make me really sleepy. Even the pasture raised organic egg yolks make me a little sleepy, but I still
Yeah.
love them.
Okay. And do you have any other sorts of like condiments or plants at all, or are you very strict with the carnivore?
I do eat mustard.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to make my own mayo, but I'm a busy mom of 4 kids. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I buy the chosen avocado mayo.
Okay.
Um, I've had a little bit of avocado, but not a ton. And sometimes if I'm eating a lot of sardines, I'll chop some pickle and throw it
Right.
in there. But that's about it.
Okay. Great.
Oh, and coffee. I drink decaf.
Okay. Yeah. Decaf decaf never made sense to me. He's like you want the horrible taste but none of the energy. It's like, okay, yeah, all right. I don't get that, just the bad taste, none of the effects. Okay, sure. That's what you want.
It's the
Um
smell. I don't know. There's some times where I brew it and then I don't even drink it
you just want to
because
smell.
without a bunch of cream and sweetener, it's
Mm,
really bitter.
mm, yeah, not great.
Hey everyone, really happy to announce a new sponsor for the show and for everybody down in Australia, Stockman Steaks, who are delivering high quality grass-fed and finished pasture-raised beef and other meats, flash frozen and vacuum sealed to your door, something that I've been enjoying a lot of myself recently as well. They also have a great range of specialty items such as high-fat keto mince and carnivore beef and organs mince with liver, kidneys, and beef heart as well. So use code Chaffee today for a free order of beef mince or another specialty gift along with your order at stockmansteaks.com.au, and I'll see you over there. Thanks, guys.
It's interesting that you get tired when you have a bit of egg yolks and things like that. I would wonder if sometimes you wouldn't get that with the other bits of avocado or other sorts of things, because I see people with autoimmune issues do worse on those sorts of things. And so sometimes with Hashimoto's, especially if you're eating something that's going to trigger that, you have a flare up and you start making more antibodies, that can slow you down as well, and can slow you down for days afterwards as well. And so
Oh.
Yeah. And so I find that people with autoimmune issues do the best on ruminant meat, like
Hmm.
cows and sheep, goats, venison, those sorts of things. And even when they're just eating meat, so like, pork and chicken, um, and farmed fish, especially, you just want to stay away from because they're monogastrics like us. Just they don't ferment their food before they absorb it. They just sort of break it down and absorb it, and their liver deals with it. And so, if they're eating a bunch of corn and soy that they're not supposed to eat either, then they may not be able to get that stuff detoxified and out of their the food before they absorb it. And then that can get into you, and it has a much higher linoleic acid content, which is very pro-inflammatory as well. And from what I can tell, autoimmune issues seem to be your body reacting, making antibodies towards these toxins and toxic chemicals from plants and other sorts of things that we put in our body, and that triggers this antibody response. And then in the genetically susceptible, they sort of have this cross reaction with our own body, but I don't think it sensitizes to that. Somebody will say there's this sensitizing reaction where they'll have this molecular mimicry, and then then it'll start attacking your own body, and then they'll start getting more and more specific for your own body. But the body doesn't mature like that. Like if you have an immune cell that has an affinity at all for your own cells or any of your antigens, they just get killed and wiped out. They're not allowed out into public. And so I never really thought that was, they were sensitizing to it, and then it's just like said like, no, we're just going to kill this organ now because it's on our death list, or our hit list. And it doesn't fit with the picture either, because when people go on carnivore, and especially the line diet, just the red meat and water, you track their antibodies, they just come right down. Hashimoto's. I have over 100 patients with Hashimoto's, and it takes a long time for those antibodies to come down. They can sometimes be very high, like in the thousands, and but they do come down, and they come down very steadily and significantly. But it can take months or even over a year, up to 2 years, if someone's has a really bad case, but are still being very strict, before those antibodies come down to nothing. But I always see them come down to nothing in the people that stick with just red meat and water, which is most of them, because they see the benefits of it. And so, the ruminant meat, even when it's being fed grain and corn and soy and all that sort of stuff, they ferment it first, and so they can break down a lot of this stuff that doesn't ever end up getting absorbed. Grass fed and finished, I think, is objectively better, has a better nutrient profile, better omega-3 and omega-6 profile, but at the same time, it's still far better than almost anything else. And for autoimmune issues, um, I find that that seems to eliminate out a lot of the things that people are reacting to. Because that's the thing, it's your body is reacting to something, and it's making antibodies, getting crossover, cross reaction for some reason. But when you just remove all that junk out of your system, then those antibodies just go down, because you're not attacking anything anymore. And that's sort of how you know that it's not sensitized to your own body. Or these plant toxins like lectins are actually glomming onto your organs and attacking them, and then your body is attacking that complex, and your organs are getting hit in the crossfire. But either way, you're not attacking your own body per se. It's that it's getting hit in the crossfire, and it's part of collateral damage. And then if you just stop the war, just remove the other army, those antibodies go away, and the body just works normally again. And so, and they do lose weight and they gain health and all these things, but the antibodies go down, and their autoimmune issues go away, or at least further damage goes away, because obviously you can permanently damage your affected organ, and it's not necessarily going to recover, or maybe it won't recover at all, like type 1 diabetics, things like that. But if you catch it early enough, the body can heal a lot of this stuff. So yeah, it's interesting, and you might play with that, and see, maybe go lion diet for a month and see how you do, and then if you add things back in, see how that affects your health and how you feel. And but if you check your Hashimoto's antibodies, and then you check them again, you just do straight line diet, and you check them again in 3 months, it will come down significantly. Of that, I have no doubt.
I will definitely play around with that because um, when I started having all this hypoglycemia, I went to all these doctors like, please help me. I am not eating ice cream. I'm not eating cookies. I'm not
Hmm.
even eating bread. I'm not eating grains. I have no idea why I'm having this. I'm just eating like lettuce, green beans, and chicken. I don't understand. And so
Hmm.
an endocrinologist did run my numbers. I think it was about 8 years ago when he ran them, and they were like 390, or no, they were 200 or something. And then I had them run before the carnivore diet, and they were like 390. And I
Hmm.
recently had them run, and they were in the low 200s. So
Yeah,
they've come
nice.
down significantly.
Mm.
I did do Lion Diet for a while, and I did feel amazing until something happened with my hormones.
Mm.
And like in a 4 day period, I gained 13 pounds and I had changed nothing. So just out of nowhere, I just got I just got all this inflammation.
Mm.
So I don't know what's up with that, but that kind of derailed me wanting to do it anymore. But I
Yeah,
did
interesting.
feel amazing.
Yeah.
And so I would love to play around with that and check the numbers before and after and see what happens.
Yeah. And you can also do a little experimenting, because you say you feel very good on the fish. You could see about,
Sea lion.
how you go on lion, and then add fish back in and see what happens. You sort of maybe do lion for 2 months or something like that. And you check your antibodies again. You do the before and after. And you say, okay, well, that was the difference. And then you add the fish back in, and then you see what happens. Like, oh crap, my antibodies sort of creeped up a bit. Like, yeah, I just have to avoid this stuff. Or, kept coming down. Maybe it would have
Or
come
it's
down a similar
great.
amount. So, yeah, it's worth a try. As long as it's wild caught fish, that's going to be much better. And I never have, farmed fish. That stuff's just no good. And so, yeah, if you're doing wild, then a lot of people, I mean, some some studies have suggested that even fish can be pro-inflammatory, but you have to sort of wonder if they're you know if these studies are just differentiating between farmed fish and non-farmed fish, and
Hmm.
or if they're just lumping everything in together. So
I
in
have to
either
question
case,
because
yeah,
I feel so much better.
yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's a really good sign, is that how you feel. And sometimes with Hashimoto's, it can take a while before your antibodies come up, and then those antibodies affecting your thyroid, and so it can be days or weeks before you really notice how much of an impact that had on you. But it's something that that you can see if you pay attention to. And whereas with like rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's, very quick, you eat something wrong, and then you've just got a big reaction, a big flare up. Your joints are
Hmm.
just completely inflamed. You can't walk. You have Crohn's. You get like bloody diarrhea for the next 3 days. It's very clear. You're like, okay, well, I'm never having that again. And so it's I think actually helpful to keep people on the right track. But then with Hashimoto's, you may just feel more tired, and you may not actually realize it's from the food that you're eating, and it may be a bit sort of distance out. You're just sort of feeling more tired and run down over the next week or two. And it's like,
Interesting.
okay, well, are you able to relate that to something that you're eating? So it might not be as easy, but you can still sort of see it. So I think that'd be interesting. Yeah, trying to do line diet for a while, and and add in fish and see how that goes, or just do both, and just have line diet with the surf and turf diet, where you're just having like the fish and then the red meat, and see how you go. And if you're feeling good and doing well, then that's fine. You check your bloods and see what your antibodies are doing. Like I had a lady recently who came in. She had her TPO antibodies and TG antibodies for Hashimoto's, and 8 months earlier she had it was like 650 for her TPOs and 50 for her TGs, and then she went strict line. At least that's what she said. She was just very strict line, just red meat and water. She said she felt great. She had no problem, feeling awesome, great. And so 8 months after that, on pure line diet, her TG was 0, and her TPO dropped down to from 650 down to 50. So it was a big, big, big drop. And so she'll be you know by the end of her first year, she should be down to full remission of her Hashimoto's, and then it's just a matter of allowing her body to heal and her thyroid to heal properly, so that she can hopefully come off the rest of her medications.
I'm so grateful for this because when the endocrinologist saw all those antibodies, he told me at some point I'm not going to have a thyroid and to
Mm.
come back then.
Oh,
And I was like, but I'm symptomatic right now and I have antibodies. And he was like, it's, I don't know. He said my TSH was fine, so we're fine. And he sent me on my way. And it was just
Jesus.
kind of sad to think
Yeah.
someday I won't have a thyroid. And I know I won't because my grandma doesn't have one and my mom doesn't have one and my aunt doesn't have one,
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's the thing with Hashimoto's. It eventually does kill the thyroid if you let it. But that was the thing. You don't. These autoimmune issues they're sort of two diseases in one, because you have the antibodies. Okay, so how do you treat the antibodies? You suppress the immune system, all that sort of stuff. Or but then there's the other side of it where you have this organ dysfunction. You're damaging the thyroid; it's not functioning properly. You're damaging your brain or your spine, and MS. Crohn's attacking the gut, all these sorts of things. Rheumatoid arthritis, the joints, and so you just have this damage to the body in these specific areas, and it's not necessarily going to go back to normal. A lot of things can. A lot of things can heal very well, but some things don't. And yeah, no one addresses diet. But it from what I can see, it is the root cause. It is addressing the root cause of autoimmune issues, because the auto antibodies go down. They go down and they go away. And then you start eating something that you shouldn't. You go on, vacation to Italy and just go, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy my 2 weeks, and then bam, these things just fly up. And they take a long time, for Hashimoto's especially. They take a long time for those things to settle down, but they do. They invariably settle down. There's different medications and things like that that have been known to help that as well. But nothing's ever worked better that I've seen than just doing a proper human diet.
So in your research and your experience, do I really have to cut dairy? I
Cut
don't,
dairy?
but I do. I've spent most of my life, I've spent most of the last 3 years dairy free.
Mm.
Um, but it is so good.
Yeah, yeah. Dairy seems to trigger autoimmunity for sure. It can be quite pro-inflammatory. Unfortunately, most people do fine with butter. I've never heard anyone have a problem with ghee. Certainly not with an autoimmune issue. Um, but could happen. But most people do fine with butter and ghee. Once you get most of the proteins and other sorts of things in milk, it yeah, it does seem that the butter and certainly the ghee, when you get all the milk solids, proteins, and it's just the fats, then that seems to be very tolerable by most people as well. But other forms of dairy, unfortunately, not. Yeah, I know. But yeah, well, hopefully that goes well for you. I'd be interested to hear how you do. I've quite a lot of patients with autoimmune issues, and they tell their friends, and like, hey, you don't actually have to live like this anymore, and so talk to them about it, and they send their friends, and then they send their friends and their friends and their friends, and it works. It just works. I've yet to see an autoimmune issue that just didn't respond extremely well to a pure red meat and water diet. It's pretty
That
crazy.
reminds me, I used to wake up in the morning and I was as stiff as a board and I would have like a hard time getting out of bed and I'd have to walk for a good 10 minutes just to loosen up. And that's completely gone.
Yeah.
All my joints used to hurt constantly. My arms and legs were going numb. And then when I would walk more than 10 minutes, my feet would start burning and tingling. And that's gone too.
Yeah, well, that's great. Um, well, that's amazing, and the obviously losing weight is a huge accomplishment, especially with the sort of the yo-yo diet experiences and the destroying your metabolism and all these sorts of things. And so that's first of all is just great. But what I think is probably the highlight is the illnesses that you've reversed. I mean, these things that you've sort of It was just said, oh yeah, and I had this, and my feet went numb, and I had this problem, this problem, this problem. It's just like it's sort of matter of fact. Oh yeah, and I had that. But these are these are major problems, and they're gone now, which is amazing. They don't normally do that, and we don't really have medications that make things do that, even from a symptomatic point of view. And you're just actually resolving them and just making them go away as opposed to covering them up, which is amazing.
Yeah. And then I used to run, do high intensity classes all the time. Now I'm doing a lot of walking and lifting at my pace, and I'm seeing more body recomp than I have in my entire life.
Yeah, well, when you overtrain and you sort of do chronic cardio, you raise your cortisol levels up, and it actually becomes more difficult to lose weight. And
Hmm.
so when you're walking and then walking to sprinting, you basically skip jogging, go straight to sprinting, and resistance training, strength training, just does amazing things for your body and for your body
Hmm.
composition. And you might put on some muscle, okay, but you're losing fat, and so if you stay similar weight on the scale, but your body's just transforming and becoming more where you want it to be, then that's it doesn't matter what you weigh. It matters how you feel and how you're doing and your body composition.
At Hack Your Health, you can get a DEXA scan. So last year I got one. I was 29% fat. This year I had lost 7 pounds, and that's including that 13 pounds of inflammation that just came on like
Yeah.
right before. And so really I had lost like 20 pounds, but whatever. Who cares? I went the right direction. And the best part is that my body fat percentage went from 29 to 27.
Nice.
So of the 7 pounds I lost, 6 of it was fat and 1 was muscle. So I lost mostly fat.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's awesome.
And if I just even maintain but keep losing fat, I mean, I'm really happy. What I'm really happy about is the insanity is stopping. I know what I have to do, and I can do it because it feels good. And doing
Yeah.
anything else doesn't feel good. Where before, restricting and eating low fat never felt good. I felt tired. I felt hungry. I would go to bed hungry. I was cranky. It was so exhausting that it was just not maintainable. But like being full, that's very maintainable.
Yeah.
Walking every day, maintainable. My kids love it. If we don't go for the walk, they're upset about it now.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, so would you have any advice for someone else who is in your position, who's trying to lose weight and sort of doing the yo-yo dieting and getting discouraged? Do you have any words of advice for those sorts of people if you had a chance to speak to them?
Start eating more meat and cut the processed foods. And, I used to be so anti sugar and I still kind of am. But what I'm really anti is the seed oils.
Mm.
So, and that's basically every single processed product. Even if it says healthy on it, then it definitely has seed oils in it. So, I mean, if you can't go whole carnivore, please go whole food and eat your meat first. But if you can drop the plants, I mean, what are you missing really? I mean,
Yeah.
unless loaded up with butter, they don't taste that great anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, they
then
never do.
I would stop training for your half marathon unless you want to walk or interval it.
Mm.
Because you're just, as a female, you are burning your hormones out. You're making yourself more hungry. You're making yourself more miserable. But, keep moving. We all need to move and lift. I skipped lifting for years.
Mm.
And you can lose weight, but you look exactly the same, just smaller. So unless you're lifting, you're not going to look the way you want to. I mean, we see it with these shots. People are definitely losing weight on them, but unless they're lifting and eating lots of protein, they don't look super healthy. It's the same with the surgery. A lot of people lose and they look 90 years old and their face is all sunken in and so we got to lift and we got to eat our protein first. And it's got to be animal protein. Skip the plant protein. That doesn't even make any sense. Plants are carbs. Where are they getting the protein from? A lot of processing. It's scary. I guarantee you someday plant proteins they're going to do the studies and it's going to turn out they're as toxic as plant fats are.
Mm. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me anyway, and certainly in their whole form. they aren't great because there's a lot of bad things that come with the good. They're not bioavailable. They're bound up in ways that we can't access because we're not designed to eat these things. And and they come with the wrong things, and is some of that coming with it in the protein supplements? I don't know. It depends on how good their process is. If they're doing like the protein isolate, where it's just they're extracting amino acids, but it's just from a plant source, then maybe. But then they add a whole bunch of other things, a whole bunch of other ingredients and artificial sweeteners or sweeteners anyway. So yeah, you're probably best to be out of that sort of thing, because it's a bit of a toxic sort of environment anyway.
And don't take my word for it. Watch Dr. Chaffee, watch Dr. Berry, watch Judy Cho, watch Adrian K. Gledhill. I'm just kidding. And learn why each thing we're not eating it. Like knowing the why helps me not even want to eat it.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, plants are bad. It's, oh, that one has a ton of anti-nutrient, or that one always is sprayed with pesticides. That one's super GMO. Knowing the why really helps you not even feel appetized to even eat them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely lovely hearing your story, and I'm sure everyone got a lot out of that. Can you tell us how to find you and follow you and see more of your work?
If you go to Adrian K. Gledhill on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, you'll find me.
Perfect. We'll put those links for that up in the descriptions, and people can find that out. And thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you found that helpful. Please do send this to people that you think this would benefit, who could get something from this, and share it on social media and elsewhere so we can get the message out. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you very much for taking the time out to listen to what I had to say. If you like it, then please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and podcast. And if you're on YouTube, then please hit that little bell and subscribe, and that'll let you know anytime I have a new video out, which should be every week, if not more. And if you could share this with your friends, that would help me get the word out and let me know that you like what I'm doing. Thanks again, guys.